Hey guys, it's Scotty Bones, and I'm back with a little video about searching for real estate in and around the town of Atlixco in the state of Puebla, Mexico. I think this video is going to appeal to people who just like to dig in and see some nitty-gritty, boots on the ground kind of searching for real estate. You probably won't learn anything profound here, but hopefully embedded within the video in our searching, you'll hear something or see something that will be just priceless to you. So I hope that's what happens. All right, let's check it out. The very first place that Jenna and I looked at a property was behind this gate behind me. We had arrived in the afternoon at our Airbnb. We asked the lady, the host there, if she knew anybody or any place that was selling property. She made a phone call. The next morning, a lady came and picked us up, and this was the first place she showed us. Here we are at Calle Emiliano Zapata, 1213. This lot here is for sale. It's 473 square meters, and it goes from the fence right here back to where that guy is back there, where this dry field is, and then it goes over to roughly where that is right there. And there's another 500-meter lot that just sold that goes from there to that brick wall over there. And we decided not to do it because, again, it was in a fraccionamiento where it was going to be subdivided into a whole bunch of little lots. And we didn't at this point. It was our very first thing we looked at, and our gut reaction was to pass on that opportunity. This next property was really exciting. I wish we could have bought it, but it was too much of a project for us. It was 15,000 square meters, or about 3.7 acres, in a little town called Hacienda de San Felix, only about 15 minutes to the west of Atlixco, out in pure farm country. Really nice place. It had some irrigation water running through it, and if you bought it, you would want to make sure that that water was seeded, or if you could get rights to that water running through your property. The real estate guy told us that there was a well that the property had access to for, if you built a house. Again, you would want to double check that before you bought the property. Also, there was no electricity on the property, but there was electric wires running about 100 yards away. So you would definitely want to contact the electric company and find out how much it would cost to hook up power to the property. This one was really nice, the property at least. The house was a little weird. It was like a 1970s style house with really low ceilings, and it had that weird stippled blown on ceiling material. But the property itself was awesome. It had water rights. It was in a little town south of here called Tenextepec, but it was pretty expensive. It was like 14 million pesos. And we weren't really interested, but for some reason, the real estate guy really wanted us to see this one. This little scrapper was in a town called San Felix Hidalgo, which wasn't too far from the previous town of Hacienda de San Felix. This is one of those cases where the pictures look much better than the actual house. And it was in a really dusty little area. And the worst thing of all was right next to it was a stable with about 200 sheep. So that was a definite deal breaker. This was one that we really would have liked to buy, except it was just a little too far away from town for us. We decided that we wanted to live closer to town because we don't know anybody here, and if we isolate ourselves out in the countryside, we'll never meet anybody. But despite that, this property was awesome. It was 1,500 square meters. They were asking 3 million pesos, but were negotiable. And it was just a really nice, tranquil piece of land. And in other circumstances, it would have definitely been at the top of the list, but just a little too far outside of town in a little area also called Tenextepec. We were totally uninterested in this next property, but the real estate agent that was showing it is a friend of a friend, so I wanted to meet him. We looked at that house there with the bougainvillea. It's in a Colonia Revolucion. Unfortunately, it's right next to this barranco, which is pretty deep. Down in there, it's about 50 feet deep or more. It was probably super nice back when it was in its natural state. After he showed us this place, he took us to the next property, which was the farmland that had the nice irrigation water running through it next to the soccer fields. This was a pretty nice piece of land, but we decided that we just didn't want to start a construction project. We want to buy something that's already built. It's nice that there's so much irrigation water available here. It comes off of the mountain all the way down through Atlixco, out into the plains beyond. But it's pretty polluted. There's all sorts of crap in there. I don't know what it is. It's hard to tell if it's organic matter. Looks like maybe it's feathers. I don't know. Is there a chicken killing factory up the stream? There's also plastic and junk in it, which is a problem everywhere in the world. But once they get that sorted out, if they get it sorted out, keep the plastic out of the water, get the sewage out of the creek and the ravine, it would really be a sweet place to hang out. All of this farmland is for sale. You can see where I started out. Over there in the center of the frame, there's that red plant. That's a soccer field beyond it. That's all for sale. All these fields here are up for grabs. Sort of expensive. The price has gone up here quite a bit for land and for houses. The land out here, I think, along the road frontage is like 3,000 or 3,500 pesos a square meter. Some of these plots are several meters, thousands of meters, hectares. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. This field here is at least 2 to 3 hectares. It's all very lovely right now. But once it gets filled in with businesses and houses, it will join the cacophony of the city. This whole area that I'm in right now is called Colonia Revolucion. You can see right there's the hill, the Cerro de San Miguel. That's like right in the middle of downtown, or right on the edge of the centro area. And from about what they call Avenida Ferrocarriles, which is over there, all the way behind me in that direction is the highway that goes to Puebla and south to Izúcar de Matamoros. This whole area is up for sale. I'd say probably 3/4 of it is still farmland and being cultivated, and about 25% is developed right now, and eventually, probably over the next 10 to 15 years, this whole area will be turned into more city. There's an example of a little development, what they call a fraccionamiento, a fractioning. It's 6 units, 6 sort of apartment-y, condo-y kind of things. 2 stories, they have a little backyard you can see there. They have a little patio in the front yard. And this is probably, I don't know, a few thousand meters that they developed. And this is how development goes. This little beastie was a 500 square meter lot in the heart of the city. Again, we didn't want to build, but the same real estate agent wanted us to see it for some reason. So we acquiesced and saw it. It's a nice lot. And for somebody that wants to build a house in the heart of the city, it would be perfect. Now this ruin here piqued our interest because we wanted to see the inside of it. It was on Facebook Marketplace, and it looked like it had some soaring archwork inside there that we wanted to see. But it was partially in ruins, and there was no way we were going to take on a urban project in a restricted historical downtown area. It was 8 million pesos, so also out of our price range, but we were interested. The lady sort of blew us off and never got back to us, so this is all we got to see. This beauty has been for sale since I've been coming to Atlixco for the last 2 years. This property here is 2,000 square meters. It goes from up there all the way down to the corner down there. It's an L-shaped building on this half, around the corner, all the way down to right there at that door down there. And there's a large like garden in the middle. You can see a tree up there and that palm tree over there. It says La Huerta Sonora, and the huerta is like a garden. So there's like a nice interior garden area in there. And then this part of it, all the way down to the corner, is like a big ruin. And that's the part of it that's the big liability. Continues from this street, which is called Callejon Sonora, onto this street here, which is 3 Norte, I think it is. And all this building here is all part of it. It's all fallen down inside in terrible shape. But the bars look really nice. And then this thing in here is kind of wild. Let's check it out. It goes back in here. Let's see if we can get a shot. And there's those arches, and then there's like patios in there and stuff. Super cool, but the price tag is like 22 million pesos, which is over $2 million just for the wreck that you inherit. And then you have to put who knows how many more millions into it. So it's only a few minutes from the Zócalo. If you got a bunch of money and wanted to fix a kick-ass old building, that would be the one. I'm walking up 19 Norte right now to go look at a property that's for sale. 611 square meters, a couple blocks down here, but it's in an archaeological salvation zone, they call it, because it's at the base of the hill here. They made a law that any lots that get built on have to go through some sort of process to get permission to build, even though this lot has a part of a house that was there previously on it. So I'm gonna go check it out right now and look a little more closely. Behind this white wall up here is the guy who has the very fanciest house in all the town, I believe. The landscaping is pretty wild. Very well manicured, because it looks pretty sweet. This street I'm walking on right now is called 19th North, 19 Norte. And it's a very nice street in a neighborhood called Lugares Chicos. This little section here we're on is only 1 block long, but it may be the best block in the entire city of Atlixco. This house over here on the right side with the white wall was one that I was looking at to possibly buy, but when Jana and I arrived in Atlixco, it had sold the day before we arrived. I had seen it previously in October of last year, and it was still for sale. Graffiti and yerba. There you go. Graffiti and herb. This lovely lot here is on 19 Norte also. It's 611 square meters, and they're asking 2,500 pesos a square meter. It's a beautiful place, but the problem is that the government in the early 1990s put a restriction on building in the area around the base of San Miguel and in the neighborhood of Lugares Chicos because of having found remains of the indigenous culture. The government agency in charge of overseeing this thing is called INAH, and they are notorious for withholding permission, even in cases like this where there is previous construction. So be careful about buying in restricted areas. That lot across the street is all for sale. Also for sale. But it's kind of expensive, I think. And the soccer field is right there, so it's surrounded on 2 sides by soccer field entrance, soccer field, and then a busy street on this side. The 4th side, which is back in the trees, would be quiet. But for the loudness of the location and the expense, which I think the lot is 1,200 meters square, which is a decent size, like a little over a quarter of an acre. But if I recall looking at the website, the price per square meter was over 3,000 pesos, which is high for the quality of the location. That seems to be the going rate for raw land slightly outside the center of the city, anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 pesos a square meter. But the lots are becoming harder to find, and there's a lot of price speculation going on here, I believe. A lot of people trying to sell their places for crazy high prices. And there's no multiple listing service here where there's at least some degree of price discovery. You know, the bought and sold prices are all publicly available for homes and real estate across the United States. Whereas here in Mexico, that's not the case. So it's a little bit more of a wild market, and people will list stuff really high if they're not in a hurry to sell, or if it's an intergenerational family and they're just waiting for the opportune moment when the property that their house is on becomes valuable for, say, a hotel in the middle of the city. We saw a place like that where it was a 6,000 square foot house, probably 80 or 100 years old. The guy in his 30s owned it. His grandparents had owned it. It was a little bit shabby, but he's asking like 8 million pesos, $400,000, which is high for what it is. But eventually, I do believe that it will be useful for turning into a hotel or a restaurant or something like that. Well, that's it for this real estate video. I hope y'all liked it. I know I did. I just love going around and looking at properties and peeking into old buildings and talking to people about what's going on. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you want some more of this type of stuff.
I love going out and getting around and seeing what the heck's going on.